but another several inches of snow with blowing snow likely. So be prepared for some tough travel conditions at times today. Very cold and windy. More local lake effect snow tonight and tomorrow, with several more inches likely through Tuesday. I'm Rich Canilia for the Voice of Liberty.
Identity theft is a growing problem in the United States. Sheriff Thomas J. Doherty would like to offer some tips on avoiding identity theft. Do not carry your Social Security card. Do not put your Social Security or driver's license numbers on your checks. Do not give out any information to telephone solicitors or unsolicited email. Do not throw out personal papers or credit cards without shredding them or tearing them into small pieces. Once a person gets your driver's license and Social Security number, they get credit cards that are in your name and they have just stolen your identity. If you are a victim, contact the Livingston County Sheriff's Office for assistance.
The shit's drifting out of control.
Last spot.
What happened?
His cord snapped. Some called it impossible.
Okay, Dave, I don't know where I am.
Others call it a miracle.
No, he's not.
Focus Features presents the inspirational true story
I got an idea.
that kept the world breathless.
This isn't working.
You can do this, buddy. Starring Woody Harrelson
No.
and Simu Liu.
I'm not losing a diver today.
Last Breath, based on the true story. Rated PG-13, may be inappropriate for children under 13. Only in theaters February 28th.
WYSL.
The WYSL stations bring you Jose Pio and Lavelle Lewis in your weekly dose of PCP. It's your hour of common sense with the politically correcting podcast and show.
You get the power to let power go.
All right, we are back with another weekly dose of common sense. Now, this week is going to be, it's going to be a tough conversations today, guys. I'm telling you right now, not tough for us. Not tough for us because we have these conversations so that you can now feel as if how you feel, or maybe your perspective, is not so far off or not so far removed from reality. Because again, we got a Black Republican with Lavelle Lewis here. I got a Latino Democrat with myself, the Jose Pio. And we have these types of conversations. And today we're going to talk about trans issues, trans safety in particular, and DEI. And these are conversations that are tough for a lot of people, but man, a lot of times what they do is they shut up and sit back and say, I don't even want to talk about it because I don't want to get canceled. I don't want my friends to not like my point of view and therefore not like me and therefore not invite me to the cool kid parties. This is what needs to happen. It needs to have open and honest dialogue about tough conversations. Now, the Ontario County, have you heard about this trans man, Sam Nordquist?
Yeah.
I was made aware that some of the information was put out on Facebook or on social media, where they actually went into graphic detail of what happened to this trans man. For those of you who are unaware, give you a little background for what happened recently, and get into
well, you got to add a little bit more context when you say trans man. Is it a trans man turned into a woman or a trans man?
No, it's trans man. That means a woman who turned into a man, a biological woman who turned into.
That confuses me, so I'm just being honest.
I'm not confused. For all my trans friends out there who listen to our show, I am not confused. I am well versed in diversity, equity, and inclusion. So there was a transgender man who reportedly went missing and was reported by his family back in February 9th last week, but was found dead in neighboring Yates County on February 12th. Sam had traveled to New York to meet a woman named, quote unquote, Precious, who he met online. Sam's older sister expressed her concerns from the start. I had a bad feeling from the start. It wasn't going to end well. She said he thought he was in love with this woman, and he thought that this woman loved him back. Sam was supposed to return home October 12th. But when Kayla didn't hear from him, she became worried. She requested a wellness check, and the officer went to the Ontario County motel where Sam was staying. The officer reported that Sam appeared to be fine, though Precious was, quote unquote, fired up. Kayla shared her suspicions, noting that Sam seemed scared in a video where Precious had her arm around him. You could tell in his face he didn't want to be there. Now, what ensued after that is an absolute travesty. It's disgusting for any human being to go through, where I guess there was months of torture and insertions of objects and what resulted in the death of this Sam Nordquist. Mm-hmm. Now, everything that happened is completely against the law. You can't hold someone against their will. You can't kidnap somebody. You shouldn't entice somebody with the idea that they're going to fall in love with you and then, maybe set them up on some kind of, I don't know. I don't know what happened here regarding the actual details. What I know was the outcomes. And that is that a trans man was put through the ringer of the most heinous and disgusting acts that any human being would have to endure, and ended up dead. Now, immediately, what I read in the news and what I saw and what I felt was that person maybe didn't know this person was trans, was not aware of the circumstances. Maybe there was because there was a whole group of people that got arrested. There was a whole group of people that, was involved with this. And so I immediately, when reading the news articles from that point, was like, oh man, this is probably a hate crime. They probably went after this person for the fact that they're trans. That was what I read in the media immediately, and that's how a lot of people took it as well. Especially, obviously the same three on city council who, jump all over this stuff. But I guess what the Ontario County District Attorney Office said is that the murder is not a hate crime. Sam and his assailants were known to each other. They were identified as Legitimaquois, and at least one of the defendants lived with Sam in the time period leading up to the offense. So it was, it seemed like these people kind of, I don't know. I don't know, but it's, when you look at the definition of a hate crime in New York State, it's defined as an offense committed, quote, in whole or in substantial part because of a belief or perception regarding the race, color, national origin, ancestry, gender identity or expression, religion, religious practice, age, disability, or sexual orientation of a person, regardless of whether the belief or perception is correct. And we have the district attorney office saying that it was not a hate crime at this time. When you first read about this, I'm assuming you've heard about it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like everybody in Rochester has heard about it. I did. What did you initially believe, or did you automatically, fall for the media talking? What?
No, I've expressed my distaste for the media and how they overreact to every situation. Me personally, I've dealt with that within my own family, the media putting stuff out there that could, number one, affect the case, whether it be negatively or positively. Majority of the time, it comes out to be negative for the victims who are involved within this situation. I've expressed, like I said, I told a story about what happened to my brother, which this is his anniversary date. So I'm familiar with getting that phone call and asking questions and trying to understand what happened. So the initial account of the media that comes out, I literally ignore it because they're always getting secondhand information and will paint any story that they want you to believe. Now, within this situation, if you look at historically, anytime something bad has happened where the globalists can use to further their cause, like the trans situation, let's go back to all the way going back to Emmett Till, right? Then we got the George Floyd situation. Then we got the Daniel Prude situation. Then we got the Trayvon Martin situation, the Orlando Brown situation. Every single time the first initial account of the situation was inaccurate, but it painted some sort of story or created some division or friction between two groups, the blacks, the whites.
And here's the thing with anything reported from the, it could be the mass freaking media or it could be even local media. They want to be the first to report it. And many times when you worry more about being the first rather than being correct or factual, then you tend to put out this, let's say, idea, or let's maybe say propaganda, or let's go with a story that may be untrue, that you didn't know was untrue, but you still put it out there because you didn't know the facts.
Right.
And after the fact, you can't retract back what you said. You can't pull back from what you called other people or what you claimed other people were. And I saw a lot. If you actually go back, and I obviously love talking about myself, but a lot of articles that were written about me back in the past, a lot of them are gone now. Because after they initially called me something anti-vaxxer, they pulled it back after they were found out, like, oh, he's actually right. They are pushing for the requirement of a vaccine. They are actually requiring people to inject this into their arm in order to keep their job or to travel. And so what they end up doing is they just erase the article. They either erase the article or they will edit it and they will put it out there into the world that,
Keith,
we edited this article. No. They just edit it and don't say nothing. Yeah. They did it to Donald Trump. We saw multiple times. I think it happens far too often that they have to go back, edit it, and not tell people that they were wrong. They don't have to ever say that they're wrong.
They won't do that. And that's the problem with today's media. Our media is bought and paid for. And they're all about clicks. They're all about drama. They're all about attention instead of putting the truth out there. They are hurting the victims more so than giving out the truth, so that again whoever is going to end up being the jury for this case, they run the risk of having a hung jury, because you can't go into this situation unbiased, right? Because you're going to get information from the outside that is inaccurate, and it's going to distort your ability to really look at the facts and see what happened. Now, this person lost their life. So let's really think about what that family is going through. And I'm speaking to the local media here. Really be responsible, because what you say can affect the ability of that family getting closure. These people can be either charged with murder or manslaughter. It happens because it happened to me personally. So be careful what you put out there just to try and tell a story. Think about the families and the victims first.
I feel like this is a sexy song to end this portion with. I don't even know what this is here.
That's just a little down tempo. That's all.
Oh, down tempo.
Do I
Bring it down. We do gotta go to a break. So obviously,
party central. You know what I'm saying?
Let's go to a break real quick. 585-346-3000. We want to hear from you. I'm sorry. I know we have a caller waiting. Stay on hold. We're gonna come back after this break at the WYSL station. Lavelle Lewis, myself, B. Jose Pio, politically correcting boys. Back after this.
Not only for a cruise, not only for a day.
Hi, my name is Greg Sadwick, and along with my son Zach, we are the owners of Flower City Collision. We've been advertisers on WYSL, the voice of liberty, for the last couple of years. So I want to thank the listeners of WYSL for their patronage, which has allowed us to grow and reinvest in the latest technologies to ensure that your vehicles are repaired to the most current standards, whether conventional or EV. If you're in a collision, reach out to Zach at Flower City Collision in Henrietta, and he'll work with your national insurance company on your local behalf to ensure that your repair gets done right.
Youth for Christ Rochester is focused on keeping kids safe and healthy. We provide a Christ-like culture in our skills and drills, Friday night or Saturday morning basketball. And we're so excited to start all 3 versions of our new God's Girls middle school programs. Consider connecting your business or ministry to one of these vital programs for city youth through a sponsorship. Reach me at myfcrochester.org or support us online with a one-time or monthly gift. Go to yfcrochester.org/donate.
Pod Computers, 1515 Monroe Avenue. Save more, get more at Pod Computers. Prompt on-site service for local businesses. Pod can upgrade your old, slow PC better than new. Pod Computers, 244-2240. Podcomputers.com.
I'm Mason from Tom Walls and Out.
Last spot.
Food? Come to Tom Walls and enjoy our juice.
And we still have Keith,
which will leave you wanting more. Tom Walls, serving only the best since 1955. Tom Walls.
Politically correcting.
Yo, what's up, son?
All right.
What's up, kid? What's going on, kid?
I kind of want this to ride.
We
should have. There's no way we could have played this song. It would have been terrible news. I'm not even gonna say it was another Wu-Tang song that's absolutely terrible.
You should let this ride, Jose. This is the great Wu-Tang Clan. Recognize.
Anyways, we got a caller. We got Keith on the line. How you doing, brother?
The reason the state police are saying it's not a hate case is that the killers, like the victim, are all from the LGBT community. Nordquist lived in Minnesota. He made contact with people of his category, came out here, and they turned on him, and over a period of time, they tortured him. And believe it or not, you could torture someone without it being legally a hate case. That's what this is all about. All of them, the victim and killers, are of that community, LGBT. That's what the state police meant in their statements.
Well, Keith, you're absolutely right. And thanks for making sure you double down on that, because we did state that earlier in there, but I want to triple down on that as well. These folks who are charged with this murder, who you believe was a hate crime, are part of the legitimate community. Mm-hmm. Now, from insight, because I have a lot of gay friends, a lot of trans. No, I don't. That's a lie. No trans friends. I got acquaintances. All right, not to get everyone upset out there. It's just, look, I'm not, by no means am I making fun of the mental health that they need. I'm just saying I can't connect with that person on that level, just because it'd be like me with that lizard guy. You see that lizard guy that changed his eyeballs and put scales on his skin and has tattoos all over his body and torqued his tongue and has piercings everywhere? I can't be friends with that person. It's not that I hate that person. I'm not going to include them in my social circle because it's weird. I just can't. I can't. So anyone out there who wants to try and come at Jose Pio, the Jose Pio, for saying I don't have any trans friends, look, I know of them. I know who they are. I'm around them. I am very cordial with them. I don't freaking do anything but say hello. I'll hug them. I'll say, what's up? How's your life? How's everything going? And we have a very good time. It does not matter to me. They're at Charlotte Beach, right next to us, out in the sun, sunbathing. I don't have any ill will towards them. And this is the problem that many on the left see. Is like, how is it that Jose can say all these things and get away with it, and the community still loves him? How is it that he can do that? Well, because it's the freaking truth.
Say all what things?
I don't think I say anything wrong, but people out there, I got stopped at a deli a couple weeks ago by a buddy, and he was like, we had a mutual friend, and he said, how is your friendship with this person after you're able to just come out and say whatever you say? And I said, my friendship is just fine because that person knows who I am. That person knows I'm going to speak my mind, and I'm not going to be, I'm not upsetting about it. I'm just saying this is how I feel about it. If you're mad, fine, cool.
Man, nobody got time for insecure trans folks, man.
And they should be the most...
Yeah, you better be the most secure individual in the world. If you know within a shadow of a doubt, however way God brought you out here, and you said, I'm going to go against God and say I was supposed to be a female.
Mother Nature.
You better be the most secure person on the planet.
And not only that, they absolutely proved without a shadow of a doubt that whatever you put your mind to, you can absolutely become.
Yeah, you can be whatever you want to be.
You can be whatever you want to be within this world. They chose to be the opposite of what they were born as.
But Jose, we have to kind of elevate the conversation and talk about the deeper play within it. We know the play. This is a playbook.
Well, we got the NYCLU that came out with a statement.
Of course. The communists.
That was a great segue there. Not to cut you off, but they said, we are heartbroken by the horrific murder of Sam Nordquist and extend our condolences, obviously. Sam was killed in a gruesome act of violence and should be alive today. This tragedy comes at a time of nationwide attacks against trans people, led by a federal administration hell-bent on erasing their existence. Transgender people are over 4 times more likely than cisgender people to be victims of violent crime, and the vast majority of victims are people of color. The NYCLE calls for justice and will continue to fight to ensure that all people can live as their authentic selves with dignity, safety, and free from violence. Now, what they're going to come out with next, this is what I believe, because this is already kind of a rift within the community. The lesbians, the gays, let's just say the gays in general, because if you're a female that likes other females, you're gay.
Legitiquois, I like that.
Yeah. Well, legitiquois includes queer and trans, which no one can define queer. Not a single person can define queer at all. You can't tell, it's a person that, believes themselves to be queer. Thanks for that definition. Trans and the gays there's going to be a rift there. There already is a rift.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know about that. There is a rift because there's a lot of people in the gay community who are sitting there saying, yeah, just why are you included with us? Like, we know that we were born this way and that we are born in this body and we love the side that was also born in this body. Why are you, there's a rift there. Mm-hmm. I don't want to speak for them. If you have a gay, lesbian friend that would like to come on and be forward and honest with their, beliefs and their views, we'll gladly have them on. I've asked multiple people, but everyone is so afraid. And I've been told behind the scenes, this is how I know that the gay community, the lesbian community, they're all like, they're going too far with this. They're going too far with the trans thing. I don't know why it was included with us anyways. They're extending the alphabet to include all these other things that have nothing to do with us because they want to basically ride on the coattails. But they won't say that out loud. And the ones who do say it out loud, you see gays against groomers. You see what the media does against them. Mm-hmm. You see against the Moms for Liberty.
Who finances the media? Who finances the NYCLU? George Soros' Open Society Foundation has donated millions to the NYCLU. And you don't think he's a globalist that doesn't benefit from chaos and division? He sends so many NGOs into other countries to destabilize what they do there. You can look into so many situations where there's a globalist right behind these agendas. And all these idiots that are out there trying to agitate on each side will pick any type of social argument to stand on because they're getting paid to do so.
I think it's further than globalism. I think it's more like feudalism. They want to have
either
kings.
way. There's somebody at the top manipulating everything that's going down at the bottom.
A handful of people.
A handful.
And it's not Elon Musk.
No, it's not. Just, again, going back to the civil rights movement. The civil rights era was financed and funded by the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds. They financed both sides of that fight or that struggle.
And
but people don't want to talk about it.
Who financed the Department of Education?
Well, the Rockefeller Foundation. They found a way to get their own people on these boards to change exactly how we teach and learn in schools. They turned it into a prison system. Who financed the prison systems? Who financed the majority of the stuff that we had that changed from the early 1900s to the 1960s till now? The Rockefeller Foundation, these philanthropists, the Bill Gates, the Warren Buffetts, all of these billionaires that have pooled their money together to create some sort of change, they were doing it for their own gain. And all we're here, this is what we're doing right now. Well, they're fighting over frivolous stuff.
They used to pool their own funds. I feel at this point they've just taken the taxpayer funds.
Oh, yeah, they found a way to do that. Now because they got their people on the boards. Now that people can influence where this money goes. Look at the USAID money. Mm-hmm. Who in the world is saying yes to all of these transgender modification programs,
operas?
Bro, it's insane. And you look at the New York State University has put together a group to fight for transgender, LGBTQ, and you look at the groups that are all in line with this program. There's this one group that's down in Long Island. I'm gonna pull it up because I had posted it before, and it's disgusting. It's like this program where they invite teenagers from the ages of 13 to 20 to come hang out. It's called the Coffee House.
Oh yeah, he posted.
Yeah, LGBTQ plus youth by the group is called PFY.
It was
Pride for Youth.
What age group again?
13 to 20.
That's quite the age group.
That's quite the age group to bring into a coffee house to hang out with other adult LGBTQ members to give them a safe space. If that's not grooming, I don't know what it is. But where do you think these groups get their money from? They get their funding from state, federal, and all this federal money is coming through the back doors, through Trojan horses from the Soros, the Rockefellers, all of these people. And we don't talk about them. They're sitting in the wings. They're sitting in their Pearl Towers just watching us go crazy and fight each other.
Right. A lot of backdoor action, and we're getting the brunt of it.
We're getting the brunt of it. You go back and look at how Vladimir Lenin rose to power in Russia. He was broke. He had no money. He was just some intellectual that was out there talking crap, but guess who came through and funded his movement and pushed him to power? There's so many political whores out there locally that will take any dollar to push communism.
Well, that's the thing too. It elevates what they were saying on the grassroots level, because all these organizations started like here, there, here, like little groups that really didn't we don't pay no attention to those people. They're the weirdos. They're going to scream all they want, yada, yada. And then years later of not paying any attention to them, you see all this money being funneled into them,
bro.
Our tax dollars.
Yes.
And when we stand up and say, yeah, we're not okay with that anymore, then they attack the person that's airing all of the nonsense and saying, oh, that person doesn't deserve to have access to just the numbers. That's all he has access to, the numbers. He can view it.
Bro, they have the blueprint. They know exactly what to do when their agitation gets disrupted.
Yep.
They yell the loudest, they scream the loudest, they point the finger, they deflect, they project. They're narcissists, bro.
Yeah, it's not going to work anymore, I don't think.
No.
We're going to take a break here at the WISL station, the voice of liberty. We are the politically correcting boys, Lavelle Lewis, myself, the Jose Pio, back to speak about more of this, more of the topics that you are too afraid to talk about. Give us a call, 585-346-3000. Just get out of here to shop Boozy.
There's a party downtown near 50. Everybody at the bar getting tipsy. Everybody at the bar getting tipsy. Everybody at the bar getting tipsy. I've been boozing since I left. I ain't changing for you.
God bless America.
WISL.
AM 1040 FM.
How strong our republic is that they have to create so many different social problems that never existed. You know, like the ability to submit propaganda to our cell phone to where all it takes is a simple meme to set a whole entire town on fire. That is dangerous. And who has the power to do that?
And it's not just putting it out there. You have the bots behind it that can push it as well, because every time you guys are commenting, we have a lot of comments today on our social media, which is fantastic. We really appreciate you guys all for joining in the conversation. Every conversation, every like, it adds to more and more people watching. So please, everyone that's on there right now, go ahead and click like.
Hit that like and subscribe button.
Hit that button.
And make sure you hit the bell on YouTube so you know exactly.
Hit the love button. Hit my love button, please.
Yeah.
We did get a definition of queer from Stryker. Queer equals strange, odd, or denoting or relating to a sexual or gender identity that does not correspond to established ideas of sexuality and gender, especially heterosexual norms. Okay.
Now, I thought queer used to be a nerd back in the day. Now queer has evolved into that definition.
That still doesn't tell me what that means, though. It does not correspond to established ideas of sexuality and gender.
Queer was never that word, though. It honestly, it just morphed into this. I always thought queer, like, yo, bro, you're queer, meaning you're just weird.
Yeah, but
you're a weirdo.
The established ideas of sexuality is male, female, and then a male likes a female likes a male.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't conform to that, then it's just gay.
You're just gay. You're just gay that likes to color your hair.
That's
it's like a dork.
You want to be bi? Okay, you're bi then.
Be what you want to be, bro.
I really don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care either way.
I do not care. And to try and use that to justify a change in law.
And I don't care doesn't mean we hate.
Yeah,
It just means you're not in our minds.
But it's an attack on our republic, on a system that is already designed to protect you as a queer. Like, there is nothing that we need to write in the Constitution where we have to specify queer folks. Now,
well, look at the definition that it had to expand out to. Man, we had race, color, white color.
Right. Well, here's the hypocrisy though. With on the right though, they're pushing a bill, an anti-Semitic bill. So you can't sit there and say, okay, we can't classify the Legitimiquois and put them in our government and how we govern our citizens, but in the wording, but yet we're going to specify what anti-Semitic is, and we're going to be able to justify and figure out the intent of somebody.
Yeah, there's a little hypocrisy with the right on that. That's for sure.
Very hypocritical. Even all the way down to the race argument. You know, like if you just added fuel to the fire for the Black Lives Matter movement. Now they can kind of pull that and say, well, what about anti-Semitic or anti-Semitism? It's the same thing. You're asking for some sort of regulation there, but you're not allowing it here.
Yeah, you're supposed to be against regulation.
Period.
That's what I believe Republicans are all about, is deregulation. And you want to come out and put more regulation on speech?
The hypocrites within the Republican Party make me sick.
When Trump said he's going to arrest people that light the flag on fire, that's another part where I'm like, well,
you can't.
I don't like that, but
you can't, bro.
You can't do that.
Yeah, he has to fall back, because you're just adding fuel to the dictator, label that they're giving you, bro. Like, relax. I'm with you, but some of the stuff that you coming out and saying, the whole Gaza Strip situation, you're gonna tell them they need to find another place to live, and you're gonna fight anti-Semitism. Bro, you look like a puppet after that.
Right.
To me, and
to a lot of people who have their eyes open.
To a lot of people, like, don't get it twisted. I think as a Republican, my job is to hold him accountable. Yeah, I'm not going to agree with everything he does. Trust me, I don't. There's a lot of stuff that I support, but I do not support on any level, any type of change or adjustment to freedom of speech.
Well, that's the problem that the left has with anyone like us. It's like, number one, how dare you be Black or Latino and vote against your own people by voting for Donald Trump? First of all, you have no idea what you're talking about. And then they go with, oh, you're just a Trumper. Again, you have no idea what you're talking about.
No idea.
You're just insinuating things and assuming things that you have no fucking clue.
Right.
Politically correcting.
James.
Perfect timing there. And we got a caller here at the Politically Correcting Show. Levaldo, myself, the Jose Pio. And we got James on the line. How you doing, brother?
Hey, Jose, what's going on, man?
What's up?
Not too much. One of the comments you made was they basically combined everything together in one. The queer thing, the gay thing, it's metastasized in everything. And basically that's what DEI thing came involved, because it came from affirmative action. That's where it came from. If you're looking for the origins of it, that's where it came from. And if you touch one of them, one of those things gets aggravated and it metastasizes down the line.
That's perfectly right on point. That's exactly what it is that you can't go after one, because what they do is they say you're against all of them. It's like going against the Black community and they say, well, that means you're against the gay community too. It's like, what? How? What?
Oh, they want a Black tranny to get hung and dragged through the streets so bad. Like, it's really what they're looking for. They're praying for that.
James, thank you so much for the call. We appreciate it. That I would hope to say that you're wrong about wanting a Black trans.
For it. If they don't get it, they'll do it themselves and blame it on somebody else.
You think the government is that?
Even the government. The CIA and FBI has done it before.
Yeah, I'm being facetious here.
Like, I know, I get it. And it seems like they're on right now that there's more tinfoil hat wearers on the right than there are on the left. And I do think the globalists need to be leery of just keep pushing so much, because eventually they will get found out. That's why I think when you look at the Trump administration, they were flirting with a lot of the tinfoil conspiracies and trying to placate to what a lot of us were talking about. And so
shooters,
we're gonna release this, we're gonna release that. This is us giving you something.
Yep.
And this is a thank you for your support, because the tinfoil people did get Trump in office. I think so.
Well, we're part of that community.
Yes, we are.
I certainly. Did you have something to say?
No.
He was looking at me like he wanted to say something. It looked like he was going to say, I believed in the two-person shooter the entire time. I was saying, a lot of people were saying it was a driver.
Well, there is a video where he literally turns by and looks and shoots at him. And
it looks like he shot at him.
Well, he looked like he shot him, but it looked like he's the one that shot him in the throat. Because when you look at the video, he starts, looks like he's choking
down and then
down
boom.
and back. Down. We saw that movie when it came out. Down, and he said in the movie there were 2 shooters.
Mm-hmm.
He said that within that movie. So we've always been skeptical of that, but we don't know how much was going on. We do not shed light or talk about the communist agenda. Communism was trying to spread globally ever since Vladimir Lenin rose to power.
Well, speaking of communists and darkness, we got the NAACP.
Oh, gosh.
Who is doubling down on racial division, as James kind of hinted towards here, urging Black Americans to spend their money only at companies that bow down to the diversity, equity, and inclusion agenda. They've released a list of businesses that either remain loyal to DEI or have dared to backtrack under conservative pushback. NAACP President, your boy, Derek Johnson, made it clear companies that reject the DEI ideology will be, quote, left in the past. They aren't calling it a boycott. Let's get that straight. They're not calling it a boycott, but they're demanding a buy-in for companies that push their preferred social agenda. Now, this is what's funny to me. President Trump, on day one, took action against this because he said, this is why I got hired for the job, basically, against the DEI initiatives. On day one, he signed Executive Order 14151, titled Ending Radical and Wasteful Government DEI Programs and Preferencing, which dismantled the DEI programs across all federal agencies. And the next day, he came back. I think he was like, he probably slept on it. He was like, you know what? I didn't go far enough on this. Then he issued Executive Order 14173, ending illegal discrimination and restoring merit-based opportunity. This order specifically targeted private organizations by prohibiting them from implementing DEI employment programs. That sounds bad immediately. Private organizations, right? That sounds terrible. Government should not be involved with it. But here's the ending part that makes it make sense. For positions tied to federal contracts. Again, only if you're getting federal contracts do you have to abandon all your DEI programs and hire those who are right for the job. Well, there's companies like Goldman Sachs that abandon diversity-focused initiatives, like refusing to handle IPOs for companies with all-white, all-male boards in response to the administration's crackdown on DEI practices.
Do you think Goldman Sachs has any connections to globalists who wants to create a one-world government and destroy our ability to be a sovereign nation?
I mean, they're usually in the topic of, or in the list of companies that are in that topic. But they went ahead and destroyed all their DEI programs without, I mean, they're not getting contracts from the federal government. You think, what about Lowe's, Target, Walmart, Amazon, Meta, McDonald's, Tractor Supply? None of those entities have federal contracts, but they chose to drop their DEI programs all on their own. Why? Because they knew, in my opinion, let's just say, they knew they didn't have to bow to the woke mob.
David, Heskinsville.
Trump literally saved them from being held captive, basically in their own minds, kind of like what Kanye said, you know, you choose to be a slave. They chose to be a slave to the mob, but we're seeing a lot of companies who are backing out on their own. We got David on the line. How you doing, David? What you got for us?
Good. Couple of things. Does anybody know how many white people were actually at the very beginning of the NAACP?
Oh, there's a whole bunch of them. 96% of them were all white.
Okay, that was the first thing I'd like to.
Were they from a certain
lot of people
nation?
don't know that.
No, they were actually from Rochester, and actually, the Sack brothers, Goldman Sachs, actually financed the NAACP, and their agenda was to attack Booker T. Washington because they felt he had too much influence on the black community. And the thing about his influence was his was based off of Christian values, having Christian faith, whereas the NAACP went with the W.B. Du Bois route, who was a devout atheist and was anti-Booker T. Washington.
Now, the other thing is with this guy that got killed, the trans person that got killed.
Sam Nordquist.
If it's not murder, then could it have been something that was like something kinky that went wrong? And because there should be some kind of punishment for this. I don't care which.
Absolutely, 100%. And not to cut you off, that's the whole point of what I was saying earlier. It's important that the media pulls itself back instead of trying to come out here and score points against the right and turn this into something that is not. The family will never get the truth. That's the most important part to losing a loved one to a crime like this. You never get the truth.
David, thank you so much for calling. That was pretty much spot on. I don't know the history of NAACP because they don't govern a single thing in my life. I don't care. But other people who do care, you should stand up and fight against this, because if that's what they're based on, then that's the thing. That's the funny thing. This is coming to my mind right now. The Democrats that I know of that always fight against this, on the basis of why something was created, right? They say that police were created to go against slaves, right? They pick and choose what entities that they're completely against, and they say that entity is based on racism, so therefore we must dismantle it. But then they completely forget these other entities that were based on racism, and I bring this up every single time I can possibly get, the unions.
Oh, bro, that's a great point you make, because I was going to add to it, the workforce, the workers' unions, they are also ready to go against Trump. It's like they are following the script all over again. And by Trump being in office, it actually energizes that base. They can now go back, reorganize, and do what they do. And with groups like the NAACP, I'm going to ask people, look into a gentleman named William English Walling, white guy who hated Booker T. Washington, hated him, set Booker T. Washington up with a prostitute waiting in his room, and then they ran with that as news to smear him. So these groups have been at this for decades now, and they're all communist-based type organizations.
That's right. Another one would be Planned Parenthood. Just throwing it out there. Just throwing it out there with the racism. Everything that's based on racism, you want to destroy. Planned Parenthood.
W.B. Du Bois, the Negro Project, that was a thing.
That was a thing. We'll be back after this break at the WYSL station, the voice of liberty. Lavelle Lewis, myself, the Jose Pio. We are the politically correct boys. 585-346-3000 is the number to call. Give us a call. We want to hear from you.
I'm Greece Chamber of Commerce President and CEO Joe Robach. If you're looking to market and grow your business, make new business connections, and give back to the community in a meaningful way, consider joining the Greece Regional Chamber. We are the largest suburban chamber in Monroe County, and we offer networking, education, marketing, insurance, and advocacy. You do not need to live or work in Greece to join. Our members come from throughout the region. In short, we are better together, and together we can move your business forward. Visit greecechamber.org or call 585-227-7272 to join today. You'll be glad you did.
Open Door Mission is deeply grateful. Because of your generous hearts, you've opened many doors. For those in need to find shelter with respect and dignity. For families who are revitalized with hope and strength. For restored, healthy relationships for those on the road to lifelong recovery. For people empowered with new skills and opportunities. With your continued help, more doors will open. Please go to opendoormission.com.
Hi, my name is Greg Sadwick, and along with my son Zach, we are the owners of Flower City Collision. We've been advertisers on WYSL, the voice of liberty, for the last couple of years. So I want to thank the listeners of WYSL for their patronage, which has allowed us to grow and reinvest in latest technologies to ensure that your vehicles are repaired to the most current standards, whether conventional or EV. If you're in a collision, reach out to Zach at Flower City Collision in Henrietta, and he'll work with your national insurance company on your local behalf to ensure that your repair gets done right.
Politically correcting.
You make it much higher.
What's going on over there with you two?
Me and Eli, man, just saying what up.
I thought you were pinching Dr. Bob's leg or rubbing his hairs up.
No, we got Eli over here
in the show. It's coming up.
Look, he's still waiting for me to rub his belly. So I'll give him a couple more rubs. That's what you asked, my boy.
Well, we gotta give a shout out, Happy President's Day to President Donald Trump, who, in my opinion, in the first 3 weeks of being president in 2025, absolutely, automatically, immediately deserves to be on Mount Rushmore.
And is getting blamed for everything within these 3 weeks.
It's amazing what this is the crazy part. I know Democrats are anti the system. I know they are. I know they want to.
Wait, call them commie-crats, Jose.
But this is the strange thing. They want to disrupt the system so that it benefits the American people and the middle income earners and the low income earners, right? That's what they say. And then we have Doge out there who's putting in the work to dismantle the system and to bring the funds back to America and to put that funding back to middle income earners and low income earners. There's talk and then there's action.
Well, they don't want their system to be disrupted.
That's what it is.
Their communist system that they do not want disrupted.
And that's the part where we have to stand up against them and just immediately say, either number one, you can immediately find out if that person has any kind of legitimate conversation to be had, or they just want to argue. And there's so freaking many who just want to argue and shove it down your throat because they love legitimate qua, right? And that's what they do. They shove things down your throat.
Yeah, one of my best friends, he came at me about a post I made about Lyndon B. Johnson. I'm like, yo, how could you defend Lyndon B. Johnson out of all people in the world?
Voting Democrat for...
These N-words are going to vote Democrat for the next 60 years, which he was right. He executed that plan properly.
Do you have to blot that out if a black man says it on the radio?
I said N-word.
Not as far as I'm concerned.
I know, but if you said the actual thing. I
would get in trouble. He still would get in trouble.
I watched Django yesterday. First of all, one of the greatest movies ever.
Who's that on that name?
I love that movie, and they have two of the best characters ever played.
Do you like it because black people's getting abused, or
no? I loved it because Samuel L. Jackson was on point.
He was,
but freaking what's his name from Titanic?
Leonardo,
the guy that brought millions of dollars from China.
He played the heck out of that racist.
Bro,
he was really good. He was a really good racist.
He was very good.
It was so good. So accurate. You're like, what do you do in your quiet time there, Leo? Are you really paying for two black dudes to wrestle naked in your living room? And that world famous meme where he was
sipping on that long cigarette. Yeah. It's such a great movie. And I watched the entire thing. I watched it with commercials. That's how much I like it.
Oh, dang. You definitely,
I watched it with commercials. And with the blotting out of the N-word.
Word, dang.
Right. And there's so much blotting out of the N-word. I'm sitting there like laughing.
Well, just to kind of talk about just the hypocrisy of the folks on the left, they will refuse to think that any black man had any type of power during that time, had any type of freedom, had any type of ability to do anything remotely to protect his own individual life itself. That's where, just like you said earlier, where Kanye said being a slave was a choice. Even Frederick Douglass kind of wrestled with that idea to where once he stood up to his overseer and punched him in his face and almost broke his neck, he didn't mess with him anymore.
And there's two things in the movie that really stuck out to me. Number one, when he was bringing Django to Candyland, and he was like, you got to get in the right mentality. You are now a black man who is helping me to get the, what do you call those black wrestler fighters guys that would beat up on each other for entertainment?
Yeah.
Dang, forget what they're called. Anyways, you have to get into the mentality of you own them. You are the person who knows all about them and can help me. And it's like, okay, so there was people back then, black people, who were in charge of slaves.
Yeah.
I think that's relatively well known at this point. And the other part was when Leonardo DiCaprio, he actually treated him kind of like the same level, but not really. He still gave him some benefit out, and he yelled at his slaves for talking to him as if he were another slave. So there's truth in that movie, even though it's for entertainment purposes only.
Right.
There's still truth in that movie to where it says Black people own slaves. Black people would go against their own people. We had Samuel L. Jackson, who was the absolute biggest example of someone who go against his own people.
It's still happening today.
Yes, because he was like in the master's ear. And the entire movie, the entire dinner set was Samuel L. Jackson hanging over basically Leonardo DiCaprio or Mr. Candyland and talking to him as if he was the guy that was telling him what to do. And then he said, meet me in the library. And then he's sitting there having a little sipperoo of some drink, and Leonardo DiCaprio listens to him.
Yeah.
So the point that I'm trying to make here is the mental game. We started off with it with the legitimate queer community and the trans community, where you can be so mentally strong in your ambition to become something that you're clearly not, but you believe it so wholeheartedly that you will take any and every measure to make that a possibility. What is stopping you, the everyday person, today from doing the exact same thing? Not talking about chopping off your meat. I'm talking about becoming that person who you are not today. You are not that person today, but you feel as if you are called to be that person of tomorrow. But why not start today?
Where do people go to get their information, their guidance? They go to YouTube. They go to church. They go to school. And then they go on the news, right? That's where they go to get their information. Those three main entities have been infiltrated with propaganda, Satanism. Everything is designed to pull you away from the truth and who you are as an individual. If Black people really learned what it was like to be a slave, they will see that a lot of things today is still based behind that structure of slavery, right? Frederick Douglass said in his book, he was like, if Black people understood that what they made each day, if they saved it and did not go and buy alcohol, if they took the time during the Christmas break and not took the slave master's liquor, played the slave master's games, just like you were talking about the wrestling. Well, they would race, they would box, they would do all these things for pay from the slave master because he enjoyed that. He thought the slaves who took part in those activities were good slaves. They actually appreciated what the break that the master was giving them.
They had the 3 dimples in the back of the skull that Leonardo DiCaprio sawed off the skull and said, this is the skull of a slave. And their dimples is where they show where their brain is most developed. And he said in the slave mindset, again, this is not me being, I'm not saying this is true. I'm not saying this is factual or historic, whatever someone's gonna pull this up. It doesn't matter. F you. The dimples in the back of the skull were to showcase to Django that, Django, you are exactly like this slave here that died. And when he died, his skull showcased where his brain was most developed, which was in the civility aspect of it. We are at a point now in the American history, in my opinion, and I already know this is going to sound bad. You feel free to take this however you want. It seems as if the Black community is very much okay with being enslaved all over again, mentally.
I will say no, they're not okay because they feel as though they have the power to fight and revolt.
But they're being used.
Yes, but they're not going to see that. They're not going to understand that they're getting played and used by the globalists, the same slave masters, to make them do their bidding for them. Now, just think back in the day, back during the slave times, You couldn't do this now because each plantation will be overrun and taken over, which a lot of them were.
But they weren't, and that was the other part that Katie said.
Now, I'll say this, that may sound bad coming from a black person. Not every plantation was the same. There were some actual good plantations that left things behind and gave the slave the ability to earn and get their freedom and do what they wanted to do. So there's a lot of misinformation about slavery, and that's why we're here today, because they're getting used for that energy.
I believe so as well. As a Latino, I'm sitting here saying you guys are being used left and right, and it seems like you're falling in line with it, or many people are falling in line with it, while the Latinos are sitting there saying we're not accepting this, because Latinx is only accepted by 4% of the entire
They're
population.
coming, bro. The city council president.
Ain't gonna happen. Ain't gonna happen. I'm calling it right now. We're gonna be back on Wednesday to have more of these tough conversations. We appreciate you guys always for joining us and listening to us and sharing this conversation with your friends and loved ones. If you love truth, if you love freedom, WYSL is where you need to go. See you guys Wednesday.
Go anywhere safety and security. You can only get in a Jeep. Lease a 2025 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo X 4x4. Only $239 a month for 27 months. $3,500 cash or trade down, 10,000 miles per year. Must have lease loyalty. Or